The Hunter Biden laptop continues to be a great piece of fiction and a wonderful punchline. And nobody bats around allegeds from that thing better than I'm guessing this is mid-level insurance manager Glenn Beck. That's the action figure he is this week. In his studio with his Sonic cup, just force feeding himself diabetes on purpose. I don't get it. And this is the question. Is there enough evidence to impeach and remove Joe Biden? The answer is no. Let's see how long it takes him to get around to it.
Peter Schweizer on with us. Hello, Peter. How are you?
Hey, I'm great, Glenn. Good to be with you as always. Thanks for having me.
It's Schweizer.
You bet. You are the president, not that you don't know this, but let me introduce you. The president of the Government Accountability Institute.
Which isn't a real thing.
Author of Red Handed.
Which is an ironic title for a book when you absolutely have not caught anyone red-handed doing fucking anything.
And the co-host of The Drill Down.
Ouch.
Peter, I wanted to talk to you about a couple of things. First of all, have you ever seen anything like what the FBI is currently doing with the National Archives to Donald Trump?
Back up. The real question you have to ask, have you ever seen another president sneaking classified documents out in the pages of magazines and between picture frames and refuse to give them back for almost 19 months?
Anything like it?
No, nothing like it. And it's really, truly bizarre, Glenn, because if you look at the issue that is at stake, which is the handling of these classified materials, we had a run at this in 2016 with Hillary Clinton.
No, you didn't.
And, it's worthwhile remembering some of the details. I mean,
let's go through it.
Let's remember. She had this server that was not authorized, not even known by federal security officials. She was found to be storing dozens of top secret and other secret materials.
One moment, please. How many of her emails were classified? Actually, 0. Nearly every day, fresh revelations emerge in the federal investigation and the national security and presidential records that Donald Trump purloined from the White House. So far, his alibis have been exposed one after another as empty, and we have seen no adequate public reckoning of why he took those papers, what he meant to do with them, how some went missing, or even exactly how many documents he hijacked to his Florida estate. Excuse me, I would like to also clarify Bedminster and Trump Tower are next. As more and more evidence of the former president's reckless and potentially criminal misconduct comes to light, he and his defenders keep pointing to, quote, her emails. They insist that because the Justice Department declined prosecution of former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton after a long and thorough probe of how she handled allegedly classified information, there should be no investigation, let alone indictment or conviction of Trump. But while we don't yet know the extent of or nature of Trump's abuse of classified documents, we can determine how many were found by investigators after exhaustive searches among Clinton's thousands of State Department emails. The accurate and definitive answer is 0. Although few, if any, news outlets have informed the public of that startling fact. Moreover, it is a fact that the Trump administration itself confirmed 3 years ago. In recent coverage that referenced her emails, former FBI Director James Comey is sometimes quoted as saying that of the 33,000 Clinton emails examined by Bureau investigators, 3 had classification markings. That's less than 1/100%, and not worth comparing to Trump's malfeasance anyway, but it's still false. Apparently meant to bolster Comey's absurd claim that other Clinton emails were classified, although never marked as such. Those 3 State Department documents were call sheets. Innocuous memos reminding Clinton to make scheduled phone calls. During her FBI interview, investigators showed her one of these memos reminding her to place a condolence call to the president of Malawi. Not exactly a top secret matter. As Comey himself later admitted, any classification marking on that sheet had been wrongly applied. In short, the 3 supposedly classified documents attributed to her emails were barely even confidential, let alone secret or subject to the sanctions of the Espionage Act. Still, the hunting of Hillary never ends, and amid regular threats to her by Trump when she was president, inevitably resumed after the FBI investigation concluded. What has been overlooked is that her emails and those of her State Department aides became the target of not one but 2 departmental probes that picked up where her exoneration by the Justice Department left off. The first round, which began under Rex Tillerson, Trump's first Secretary of State, opened with an inquiry into a claim of 41, quote, security incidents attributed to Clinton and concluded after months of argument and appeals by her attorneys at Williams-Connolly. That none of those alleged incidents was valid, though she shouldn't have used a private email server. In that respect, her conduct was no different from her Republican predecessor, the late Colin Powell, who advised her to use private email, or many officials in the Bush White House who advised her to use private email, or many of the Bush White House, including Karl Rove. The second State Department review commenced with more fanfare in 2019 under Tillerson's unscrupulous successor, Mike Pompeo, who, it is worth noting, soon came under official scrutiny himself for gross and self-serving misuse of State Department resources. By then, the hypocrisy behind the Republican indignation over her emails had been highlighted by massive, repeated security breaches in the Trump White House, where numerous officials, including Ivanka Trump, unlawfully used private email accounts and normal protective protocols were routinely flouted. No doubt Pompeo, a veteran of the House Select Committee on Benghazi, hoped to find something, anything, to arraign Clinton. But again, in the end, there was zero, zilch, nada. Although the second review began with a July 31st, 2019 notice from the State Department officials that they suspected Clinton might be responsible for 12 classified spillages. This investigation concluded 9 weeks later that she did not bear any individual culpability for those incidents. Again, the overarching absurdity of the State Department and FBI investigations lay in the fact that nearly all of the documents at issue had been classified retroactively, meaning they had carried no markings identifying them as such when Clinton handled them. Comey's assertion that documents can somehow be deemed inherently secret without proper markings or any classification history whatsoever is extremely dangerous and hostile to the concept of open democratic governance. It is an idea that should never have been entertained by a free press. Nobody in their right mind would hold Clinton or any official to be culpable under those circumstances. The same cannot be said for Trump in the current documents scandal. Now let's back up a second and let's hear Peter Schweizer lie again.
Not authorized, not even known by federal security officials. She was found to be storing dozens of top secret and other secret materials.
That's a lie.
On that server.
That's a lie.
They didn't know about it. When they discovered it, she had her lawyers go through and delete the emails that she felt should be deleted.
You do realize that emails never go away, and that wouldn't have removed them from the State Department servers or the government backups at all.
The FBI concluded that her server had been penetrated by a foreign intelligence service.
No, they did not. I mean, this is just fucking lazy. And again, Schweizer and Glenn both view themselves as good and decent Christian men. This is what you would call bearing false witness. These are egregious and absurd lies.
And then she destroyed the phones that she had been given as Secretary of State. That is all
Which you're supposed to do.
very consistent in the sense of the issue of what we're dealing with Donald Trump.
No, it isn't. As a matter of fact, if something's secure or something could get out in the wind and you don't destroy it, you're putting, you're possibly exposing top secret information. If Trump had taken all these documents, they weren't the original copies, but he realized he'd had some copies and he was like, shit, we don't even want to make sure these get back. I'm letting you guys know I've got these documents. I'm destroying them here. I have copies. I'm destroying the copies right now.
Which is...
It might be comparable. It'd still be illegal, but...
The National Archives claiming that these materials, it's not being handled properly.
Hi, Matt. And by the way, and all the trolls, welcome. So glad you guys could be here. Look, it's not your fault that Truth Social is taking a giant shit. It's not your fault that the SPAC that backed it is refusing to give it more money to help pay its bills. And it's not your fault that Trump and Truth Social are stiffing a company for their web hosting costs that was specifically built to service right-wing causes and social media messaging. It's not your fault. No, I take it back. It is your fault, and it should be even more your fault. What I would suggest right now is that after you're done giving me a thumbs down, or leaving a comment, please do, by the way, because you expand us out into the greater interwebs with the algorithm more than we can do ourselves. You guys are why we're growing so fast, and I can't tell you how much I appreciate it. Just go ahead and give a thumbs down because the algorithm doesn't care. It just likes interaction. It really doesn't. If you're off the clock as a paid troll anytime soon, feel free to just hang out. No hard feelings.
But instead of handling it the way that they did with Hillary Clinton, which is to engage with her lawyers, try to work it out, of course.
No, they engaged with her lawyers, tried to work it out. She engaged with them directly. She sat down for a specific interview. She sat for multiple conversations with them, 2.5 hours in one sitting. And I think in 2 days in a row. Trump won't sit anyway. He just pled the fifth 440 times. You know why? Because the mob pleads the fifth. Criminals plead the fifth.
They let her get away.
Clinton did not plead the fifth.
Away with a lot of stuff.
That's right. Trolls, also go to @HalSparks. Follow me on Twitter and @HalSparks on Instagram. Lots of opportunities for you to be inappropriate and gross and point to the fact that your arguments and your crowd and your dear leader are morally corrupted and disgusting and have no parallels with Christianity or family values or any of the things that Republicans used to pretend they were for. I know it's a job. You got to do what you got to do.
Not what they did here. They were engaged with Donald Trump's lawyers.
And then he got a subpoena. He paused it. And then when they got footage, they realized that the count of classified documents that was going on was intentionally falsified because they have video of people coming and going from the room during the time when they were supposed to be just counting what was in there. They moved some stuff out, looked in the room, said, we didn't find anything. We looked all through the storage room. And then they took the other boxes and they brought them back in, except for one. Oh my gosh, Justin. Okay, I will. Just go. I'll check Washington Post breaking news. Okay, thank you. Washington Post. File seized. Okay, so this is the nuclear part that we were talking about. There you go. Some of the documents seized on August 8th detail top secret U.S. operations so closely guarded that many senior national security officials are kept in the dark about them. There you go. Pages from the FBI property list of items seized from the former president's Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago estate and made public by the Department of Justice. FBI agents who searched the home found empty folders marked with classified banners. The inventory reveals in general terms the contents of the 33 boxes. A document describing a foreign government's military defenses, including its nuclear capabilities, was found by FBI agents who searched the former President Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago residence and private club last month, according to people familiar with the matter, underscoring concerns about among U.S. intelligence officials about classified materials stashed in the Florida property. Some of the seized documents detail top secret U.S. operations so closely guarded that many senior national security officials are kept in the dark about them. Only the president, some members of his cabinet, or near cabinet level official could authorize other government officials to know details of these special access programs, according to people familiar with the search who spoke on the condition of anonymity to describe sensitive details of an ongoing investigation. Documents about such highly classified operations require special clearance on a need-to-know basis, not just top-secret clearance. Some special access programs can have as few as a couple dozen governmental personnel authorized to know of an operation's existence. Records that deal with such programs are kept under lock and key, almost always in a secure compartmented information facility. That's the SCI stuff, and that's where the word SCIF comes from that you've heard so many times, with a designated control officer to keep careful tabs on their location. But such documents were stored at Mar-a-Lago with uncertain security more than 18 months after Trump left office. After months of trying, according to government court filings, the FBI has recovered more than 300 classified documents from Mar-a-Lago this year, 184 in a set of 15 boxes sent to the National Archives and Records Administration in January, 38 more handed over by a Trump lawyer to investigators in June. Those are the ones that they put in a red envelope and wrapped in tape, proving that they did not declassify things and they were handling them as classified documents regularly, and more than 100 additional documents unearthed in a court-approved search on August 8th. It was in this last batch of government secrets, the people familiar with the matter said, that the information about a foreign government's nuclear defense readiness was found, probably Israel, I'm going to guess. These people did not identify the foreign government in question, say whether at Mar-a-Lago the document was found or other details about one of the Justice Department's most sensitive national security investigations. It's the same thing. It's the same as 3 call logs that Hillary had.
And then they conducted this raid. And it's important to point out, by the way, Glenn, that the Department of Justice and FBI have always had kind of a policy as it relates to election years and not taking sort of deep provocative actions, 90 days or so before an election. They certainly did it in the case of the raid on Donald Trump. It was because it was time sensitive and he was trying to drag it out to get it closer to that so he could guarantee himself another 3 months with the materials, dumb fuck. Very visible. It was very clear cut.
What do you think?
No, they did it. They didn't announce it. He announced it. It would have come and gone. They would have picked up their fucking boxes. They could have made up a story. They wouldn't have answered it at all if he'd have gone, yeah, they had to come and pick up stuff for the National Archives. Totally cool. No big deal. The FBI has to do it, though, because it's sensitive stuff. And nobody would have been the wiser. There would have been a little bit of a dust up a story, and that would have been that.
I think this is about, Peter. What do you think?
What do you think this is really about? This can't really be about actual secrets and the fact that this fucko left him at a rental property.
This is really about.
It can't be that. It could never be that Trump is wrong. It's got to be about something else. Is it about the Great Reset? I have a book to sell.
I think it's about a combination of things.
Yeah, of course. Obviously, it's you have a rash, it itches and burns.
I think number one, there's no question that there are certain elements of the FBI, particularly at the Washington headquarters, that are smarting at how it was revealed that they sort of jerry-rigged the Russiagate investigation. I mean,
no, that they don't give a rat fuck about that. They have to get these things back. These are wholly unrelated. They can chafe all the fuck they want. This is bullshit. They did not raid fucking Mar-a-Lago as a way of getting back at Trump because he hurt their fifis. Get the fuck out of here, Government Accountability Institute president. Jesus Christ.
I mean, remember the revelations. You've talked about them regularly. Mm-hmm. The misconduct by senior FBI officials. First, you have Peter Strzok making all those comments.
Yeah, geez, those Twitter comments about what a fuckhead Trump is.
To his lover about Donald Trump and his despising of Donald Trump and his...
Right. I mean, which basically shows taste and breeding on Peter Strzok's part.
Reporters.
I don't know why a guy would be grossed out by a guy bragging that he can grab women by the pussy becoming president of the United States. I don't know why that would chafe anybody. Do you know Peter? Do you know Glenn? Do you know Stu? Do you know Peter? Do you know Glenn? Do you know Stu? Like, why would anybody mind if a dude who brags about grabbing women by the pussy without even asking would become president? I mean, what kind of a loser would get upset about that? Why aren't you cheering it on? How does it not make your heart swell with pride?
Then you have documents that go to the FISA court
that would make it less likely for Carter Page's FISA warrant to continue.
Been altered. Then
to help Trump, not hurt Trump.
You have clear evidence the procedures weren't being followed. That's deeply embarrassing to a law enforcement agency like the FBI that is supposed to be all about process. They have a
right. They were, and you guys twisted what the process was about. And the way you've been talking about this, along with Donald Trump, has led to a dude showing up with a fucking nail gun and a rifle at Cincinnati FBI headquarters, and people getting death threats who even work with the FBI.
A process to deal with every investigation. They did not follow it.
Yeah, well, they didn't follow it when they announced that they were continuing the investigation into Hillary's email, which turned out to be bullshit, but helped Trump get elected. Without that, Trump loses. Without that Comey moment, Trump loses. That's why he was trying to recreate it with Zelensky 2 years ago.
And then they tried to cover it up. That is institutionally embarrassing, particularly to FBI senior officials who've been there for 25, 30 years and were running the show at the time. So I think that is a component of it. I also think more broadly speaking,
again, fucking gibberish. He thinks the FBI willy-nilly raided Mar-a-Lago just because they were miffed that they got dunked on or something. It's a bunch of macho bullshit.
There's just a lot of institutions in Washington, D.C., apparently including now the National Archives, that don't like Donald Trump, and they have a...
And unlike the Government Accountability Institute, who weekly takes jaw-stretching exercises and classes just so they can unhinge their jaw to gargle his balls.
Separate set of rules for him than they do for people like Hillary Clinton. And here's the problem.
No, false standard. You're lying again, Schweizer. And Glenn Beck is furthering this lie by either not pushing back or not interrupting.
Glenn, you're a student of history. You can
No, he's not.
Probably expound on this better than I can.
No, he can't.
If you look at the decline of civilization.
But enough about what it's like to drive to Sonic with Stu.
Or if you look at the loss of freedom in countries.
Yeah, statistically speaking.
Absolutely, elections are important. Even more important is when the judicial system favors certain people.
Yeah, it favors people who don't break the law over people who do.
And
it's terrible.
Used to go after other people. When you undermine the judicial system in that way.
Well, that's what you're doing. I would argue that that's what you and Glenn Beck are doing. You're the ones undermining faith in the judiciary and in the FBI, not their actions. I mean, the dude Gish galloped through, 4 lies about Hillary Clinton in the early part of this to create this false balance between the two, going, well, this is the same as this, therefore both of them are a wash.
You are in a very, very precarious situation.
Well, when you pack a court, that's the end.
Oh, you mean like Trump did?
Yeah.
There's no country that has ever recovered from packing of the court.
Yeah. I mean, the Mongols, it was the court packing that got them in trouble. I mean, remember when the Romans packed their court?
But we are approaching everything else in our judicial system. It's becoming just quite amazing.
Okay, that was nothing. He was not ready to be asked a question or referenced, and he just filled it with like IntelliFluff. I'll use, sort of honorable sounding language, grandiose words to fill the space so that you don't dare question that I just didn't actually fucking say anything that has anything to do with anything. Listen to this again.
Of the court.
Hold on.
There's no country that has ever recovered from packing of the court.
Okay, we have not packed the court. We have not done that.
But we are approaching everything else in our judicial system. It's becoming just quite amazing.
What does that mean? We are approaching just everything else in our judicial system. It's becoming quite amazing. The fuck? Is that the key to radio? Have I been putting too much thought into this over the years? Am I trying to do too many goddamn jokes and make too many decent salient points? Is that my problem? am I not growing as a channel fast enough simply because I don't know how to fill time with like 50-cent words every so often? Just keep yammering till the break so I can so I can suck off that Sonic next to me. Look at this shit. Like this dude's never had a medium anything.
Let me ask you, Fauci.
Let me ask you this. Can you kick my ass?
He just said, I'm going to leave, before January. I think hoping that, since the Republicans are going to have the call to, have a power to call a committee together and look into Fauci and others.
They still would be able to look into anything that happened in the year and call him for it. You couldn't take his job away. The motherfucker's 80.
That he was like,
he doesn't care.
I'm on a beach someplace.
Also, he made that decision after the tide turned, dummy. He didn't make that decision before Dodd. #Rovember.
I don't think that's going to work. I hope it doesn't. I hope they get him. If he was lying, I want to get to the bottom of it.
Trust me, Glenn, you're already at the bottom.
Absolutely.
But do you think that what we know about Hunter Biden?
Oh my God, stay somewhere. What the fuck?
Do you think people like Mitt Romney, and you would get anybody if you won the Senate and the House decided to go with impeachment just based on the things that we know? Do you think there's more to be found there?
No.
And it would be enough to impeach Joe Biden?
No.
Yes, I think it would.
That's because you're an asshole.
And here's the interesting thing, Glenn.
No, I don't want interesting. I want facts. Like what, fucko?
Wait. Not just to impeach. Wait. I do want to make sure I'm clear on this. Yeah. Not just impeach, but remove.
First of all, you have to take both. And you'd have to have a filibuster-proof majority. You're not even gonna get that. And you'll lose.
That's another question, of course. I do think that the evidence is clear.
Oh, so he's if you can impeach him, but he's not removed, then he's exonerated. I mean, we're using the Trump standard, right? You guys said it. If they get the House and they impeach Biden, but the Senate doesn't remove him from office, I mean, he's exonerated, right? That's the standard. That's what you guys are saying. That's Trump is literally skating on that.
Really there, and I think if we have these hearings in the House with Hunter Biden, and by the way, it's interesting to note, Glenn, the left I think overreached as they often do, because remember. There was an individual named Steve Bannon who was just charged with contempt of Congress. So what happens when the House calls Hunter Biden next year and he refuses to show up? I mean, you've got a problem there.
No, he's not a cabinet member. He didn't work with the president. There's all kinds of precedents. If you can't just call somebody before a committee for the fuck of it, unless you're going to file criminal charges against him. Again, it's not going to happen. I don't even know why I'm worrying about it.
If you are on the political left. But my view is this is open.
You got me on this one because what? Sorry. I used to watch the TYT suck lately. Anna's been given conservative, tough on crime, attacking California. Oh, I see. She's just got to be. It's contrarianism. It's how they make money.
It's always been not a story about the hookers, about the cocaine, about the drug abuse.
Because then you'd have to bring in, because the Democrats would have to bring in Mike Pillow, and then what?
And it's not even been a story just.
And then Trump, and you have to go, well, what's worse morally, paying for sex with another consenting adult, or grabbing a woman you've never met by the genitals and forcing yourself on her and kissing her without consent? Let's have that debate in the well of the Senate, shall we?
It's about Ukraine and Russia. For me, it's always been about espionage and about the fact that Chinese intelligence has their claws into this family. And
how? Based on what? Where the fuck has Biden been tiptoeing around China? He formed the AUKUS agreement, for fuck's sake. He said he'd defend Taiwan if they attacked it. But he didn't call back Nancy Pelosi, and then we sent House delegates afterwards. Where is that? Honest to God, what is the evidence that if the Bidens got some money out of China, China is not getting a return on their investment, clearly. Right? What is China getting in return? We're reshoring chip factories. We're moving one of the Taiwan semiconductor companies. One of their factories is going to be built in Arizona just in case.
All you have to do is look at, very simply, the 4 businessmen that Hunter Biden received tens of millions of dollars from in China.
No, you don't. You'd have to look at if they made money in China and they got anything else for it other than an investment. The Trumps got all kinds of money from Russia and $17 million in Trump's own personal account in China, but they never built anything. There was never an investment structure. They just hoovered up the fucking money. So what are they expecting in return? And they certainly got it. He was palling with Xi and with Putin the entire time he was in there. He was, obviously with this hope that one day there would be fucking Trump Tower Moscow or Trump Tower Shanghai.
They're all directly linked to the highest levels of Chinese intelligence.
Everybody's linked to the highest levels of Chinese intelligence. Fucking Amazon and Tesla and all these companies. If you do business in China, the contractor you're going to be working with is going to be 51% owned by the country. And China is going to put people in there to control the situation, not because they have control over the American side of it, but to make sure that their workers that they have there aren't guanching their way out of it.
And that ain't a coincidence.
No, a coincidence would be they did deals like this and Biden refused to protect Taiwan. Biden refused to send carriers in to circle Taiwan. Biden refused to work with Australia and the UK and Japan to protect Taiwan or the South China Seas. Biden didn't go forward with the South China Seas economics zone that they were putting up together because it would offend China. Where has there been a time other than kind of jovial talk where, Biden hasn't said, fuck you, Xi, and hung up? What has China gotten from the Biden administration? Fucking bupkis. Nothing. They get nothing. Good day, sir.
And by the way, it would have been pretty easy for Hunter Biden to discover who these individuals are. We were able to do it based on public records. He could have done the same thing. So the point is that puts it into a different category. The problem that you have with elected officials like Mitt Romney is
he's really a rhino. He doesn't really care about America. He just wants to be a powerful dude in Utah with a car elevator.
They really do view high elected office as a club. And I understand, Glenn, you want to have camaraderie.
If they did, then they would have, maybe they do, and that's why Trump wasn't kicked out himself.
Right? You want to try to get along with people. You want to try to have a sense of common purpose. But you can't gloss over major crimes and major security threats.
Name one. Name one. What are you talking about? I have not read this guy's book, and I shouldn't have to understand what the fuck he is talking about on Glenn Beck's show as an interviewee. If they're that big, you should be able to go, oh, fuck, the Shanghai deal. Obviously, this is related to the Xinjiang massacre. Obviously, this is related, you know what I mean? You should be able to call up, the bridge to nowhere and over the Bund in Shanghai, whatever the fuck. You should be able, if these are giant deals and it's self-evident that there's some sort of, quid pro quo going on there, you should be able to name them like you can about these mystery forgivable loans from Deutsche Bank while Russian oligarchs were punching money through there and through the Bank of Cyprus where fucking Wilbur Ross worked before he joined the Trump administration. Money laundering at the Bank of Cyprus and Trump hiring Wilbur Ross to be his Treasury Secretary, that's a dead giveaway. Trump's loans through Deutsche Bank that he has no means to pay back and has been able to somehow just put them off and put them off and put them off forever. And the roots of where that actual money came from, which we know is Russia, nobody even questions it, that I was able to do. It's pretty fucking easy. His Deutsche Bank loans. You should be able to do that with Biden if that's the case.
That club thing is ridiculous. If Rush Limbaugh would have been corrupt and doing all kinds of things.
Rush Limbaugh was trafficking like 30,000 painkillers. He fucking threw his cleaning person under the bus. Rush Limbaugh, dude went deaf from his own drug use.
That would hurt our country. Every talk radio host in America would have turned on him.
What? Is smuggling 30,000 pain pills into the United States not bad for the country? What's the standard? 45,000?
Would have turned on him.
Yeah, and the reason is, by the way, is because
also Limbaugh was never elected to fucking public office. He doesn't have any access to anything but his own ass.
Because by him doing that, it would have been horrible for the club.
Exactly right.
That's the way that Mitt Romney, unfortunately, does not see it. So, yes.
And secondly, if you want a real crisscross between fucking Romney and Limbaugh, Romney, through Bain Capital, bought up a bunch of progressive and liberal radio stations throughout the country and flipped them to conservative. And they consistently lose money and they don't give a shit because they view it as a PR campaign for their tax breaks. They view it as propaganda for the Republican Party. Now, they have investors, and legally they shouldn't be able to invest in things with their investors' money that they know are going to lose money on purpose. But they don't care because they think the long-term benefit is worth it, and the type of investors they have know this and don't give a fuck.
I do believe that there's going to be grounds there. I think for Anthony Fauci, the question...
Oh, now you're fucking bouncing back to Fauci. Like, did you hear them answer anything that I brought up? Not that I get to ask them directly, but it should be self-evident that during this part, they should go, oh, this deal led to this thing. This is the quid, and there's the pro, and there's the quo. Like that, if you're going to make extraordinary, accusations against the president of the United States, then make it. But you don't get to just be like, anyways, Fauci, blah, blah, blah. This is like a fucking parking lot conversation with a maggot. You know what I mean? Where you literally start talking to one of them, and then as soon as you start nailing them down on it, or they have to put up or shut up, they bounce to like, well, the fucking Fed needs to be audited. And you're like, all right.
And I talked about this a little bit in Red Handed. Let's just try to get to the bottom of this question of where this virus that shut down our country, that killed a million people, where it actually came from.
Yeah. It came from Wuhan. The question is, did it leak out of a lab, or was it in the wet market? All signs point to that it showed up in the wet market. it could have showed up in the wet market for in a couple of ways. One is the same guy who's getting bats for the lab brings them down. They go, we only need 10. He takes the other 20 and he sells them at the wet market. They have the same disease in them that they brought to the lab. That in China, if you've ever been, is a completely reasonable thing. That is entirely possible. That it makes total fucking and even to the point where they're like, okay, we only need these 10. They all, they'll do. We need to do a random sample. Those you'll just have to incinerate. So promise? Yeah, I promise. And then he goes and sells them at the fucking wet market. That's how it works. The other possibility, the guy brought all the sample bats from that area. They used them in the lab. When they died or they were done with them and they went to throw them away and they were supposed to dispose of them, somebody took them because they needed the money and snuck them out and sold them in the wet market for food. That's also something that happens in China with great regularity. It's not fucking surprising at all. The difference is that the lab leak theory, the reason they say lab leak specifically is not because, it's because they can hide behind the cover of them basically saying that it accidentally got out. It leaked out of the lab. But the inference that they're putting in there, or that you're supposed to take away, the implication that they're making is that it was made in a lab and leaked, as opposed to found in a lab, and then the animal it was found in was later sold, or parts of it were sold for food, or it spread to other things, or they had multiple ones and they all had like 10 or 15 bats all in the same area, had the same specific pathogen in them. 5 of them went there, 10 of them were sold at the wet market, and it's a naturally occurring disease. It was just, that's how it got out. That's fucking how. The other part is, past a certain point, it doesn't fucking matter. There's 2 things you've taken away from it. One, the Chinese government can't be trusted in terms of dealing with pandemics and epidemics going forward. So you have to pretend like they are not an honest player in it. That's not hard. Everybody agrees. Trump and Biden are both, we're all on the same fucking page on that part of it. The question is do you think, and is the assertion being made by these guys, that the CCP made a disease on purpose as a bioweapon and sent it out? That's the inference you're supposed to take away in your conspiracy-laden mind. And from that, I see a couple of issues. The primary one being that if that is the case, then why do these motherfuckers hate the idea of our government coming up with a vaccine using our pharmaceutical companies to fight back against it? And why, if you look at how China is locking down fucking everywhere and they had this zero COVID policy, why the paranoid thought that you would naturally take from this circumstance is, holy shit, if they made it in their lab and they released it on purpose and they're not letting anybody go anywhere, if they even test positive, they're locking down whole cities, they must know something about the deadly nature or the ubiquitous symptomatic problems of this virus that we don't know. Therefore, we got to do everything we can to protect ourselves from it. So, if they're locking down, especially if you believe the bioweapon line, which is what they're what these assholes are talking about, what they're implying. Yeah. And Michael in our chat room points out, of course, that the Chinese vaccine does not work. It's beyond even the fact that, and that's really why the lockdowns, because their vaccine doesn't work.
Yeah. And what we know for a fact is that Fauci very early on immediately jumped in, not as a scientist or as a medical professional. They wouldn't do that. As a bureaucrat, and immediately declared, no, this had to be naturally occurring. This is not a lab leak. He immediately killed that. Yeah. He needs to stand before.
Okay. Now, again, it's exactly what I'm talking about. So they're making the assertion that he's saying it's naturally occurring. This is naturally occurring. Now, the science that he had access, let's see. This is the National Library of Medicine, Journal of Medicine and Life. Let's see where this one. Hold on. Let me find. That's NIH.gov. This is on the NIH.gov's website. SARS-CoV-2 as an artificial creation, scientific arguments and counter-arguments. Discussions and questions about the origin of the virus that causes coronavirus disease 2019, COVID-19, have been frequently raised and widely debated among all communities since the first large-scale outbreak was detected in December 2019. COVID-19 has rapidly acquired a pandemic status, leading to the death of more than 600,000 people all across the world at the time of this writing. This is thus, it is crucial to discover its origins to prevent another viral outbreak. The main theories regarding the origin of severe acute respiratory syndrome coronavirus SARS-CoV-2 that are that it arose naturally as a zoonotic infection, that it was deliberately engineered as a bioweapon, or that it has accidentally leaked out of a biolab in China by researchers that were studying a virus related to the SARS coronavirus. Therefore, this leads to a highly debatable question: is COVID-19 a man-made or naturally occurring disease? COVID is an envelope virus with a single strand, positive sense ribonucleic acid genome. It contains a total of 4 genera: alpha, beta, gamma, and delta. The beta genus is classified into 4 lineages from A to D. Scientific evidence shows that the virus causing COVID-19 belongs to the B lineage of the beta coronavirus group, which is the same group of another epidemic causing virus, severe acute respiratory syndrome coronavirus, SARS coronavirus. Because of its similarity, it was named SARS-CoV-2. Argument: naturally mutated. Argument, counter-argument, manner. While study results proposed and supported the theory that COVID-19 is a result of naturally occurring event, there is another suggestive theory stating, this is from the NIH's website. This is the organization that Anthony Fauci is the head of. They posted this. It's been up for a while. There's another suggestive theory stating SARS-CoV-2 is an intentionally engineered virus that was unintentionally released from a biolab in Wuhan, China. The origins of the epidemic and the probable bat source have raised skepticism. The Wuhan Institute of Virology report stated that the source, bat-related coronavirus, was found in the southern area of Yunnan, same as the origin of the SARS-CoV-2 outbreak. Comparatively, the adjacent Wuhan Institute of Virology had raised a higher possibility of this disaster pandemic by spending $44 million on the National Biosafety Laboratory, Level 4. Naturally, the origins of the epidemic were investigated. All the studies of Shi Zhengli, the lead virologist from the Institute on bat-related coronaviruses, were centered in the southern subtropical areas of Yunnan. However, the outbreak occurred in Wuhan, which is almost 900 kilometers from Yunnan. This cliffhanger seems to point to a possibility that this novel strain of coronavirus was leaked out artificially. Even though the Chinese government discredited the possibility of a lab origin based on the genetic studies, the distance of the epicenter from the bat caves raises questions. Moreover, it is widely known that the studies involving the study of transmission of bat SARS-CoV-like coronaviruses using cell culture and animal models, such as laboratory mice, have been conducted for many years all across the world. Based on the scientific evidence, it is possible that an inadvertent laboratory release, the progenitor for SARS-CoV-2, theoretically mutation of the receptor binding domain, RBD, of SARS-CoV-2 through adaptation during its passage in cell culture, is possible since this was observed in previous SARS coronavirus passage studies. However, a recent study provided a more parsimonious explanation on the alterations of SARS-CoV-2 receptor binding domain through recombination or mutations with more robust evidence. The method, final perspectives. Many, wasn't there one more? Hold on. There's man-made virus, naturally. Okay, so there's 2, that it's naturally mutated or that it was man-made. And furthermore, another research suggested the involvement of the immune system is needed for the generation of O-glycosylation on the virus. Therefore, it is improbable for it to have happened as a result of cell culture passage. Although no scientist has come forth with any definitive evidence that proves human manipulation of the virus using any genetic engineering method, there are situations involving human intervention that have been reported. It must be noted that some important features of the spike proteins on SARS-CoV-2 have also raised suspicions on whether the virus is man-made. This is because both S1 and S2 sites of the spike protein demonstrated optimal portions, which facilitates the penetration of the virus's RNA into the living cell that could weaken the host defense of the host. Besides, similar sequences were also indicated in the protein's endonuclease and 2-OMTase, NSP16, and other sites SARS-CoV-2. Final perspective. Many hypotheses, blah, blah, blah. In conclusion, all these specific features observed in SARS-CoV-2 help scientists rule out the idea that this pandemic that this pandemic caused by the novel coronavirus is the result of a man-made action that could be either engineered in the laboratory or further created as a bioweapon out of conspiracy. Recent discoveries reveal evidence of the presence of the virus around the world before it emerged in Asia. There is growing evidence of its true origin as a global organism that was waiting for favorable conditions to emerge instead of originating in China. Recent testing of sewage in Barcelona has suggested that the virus may have been present in the Spanish city in March of 2019, many months before China identified the pathogen in the city of Wuhan in December 2019. Based on the results available, it is most probably that this is a natural-born virus that emerged from an animal host, most likely a bat, without any direct piece of evidence about its intermediate host. Nevertheless, researchers have yet to find a definitive answer to which animal serves as an intermediate host for the disease, the virus and disease. Besides, questions on the role of SARS-CoV-2 in T cells have been raised, especially with evidence from recent postmortem findings of its preferential impact on CD4 plus and CD8 plus T cells. Therefore, further studying of all microorganisms is mandatory in order to understand how they evolve, how they live, and how they transmit, which may be the key to solution of hindering the spread of COVID-19. Conflict of interest. The authors declare there is no conflict of interest. Here's all the references. This is on the NIH's website. It talks about, and this is from January, February 2021, well into it with some study and going through it. So the idea that somehow, A, you're not allowed to talk about it, or that he jumped on it immediately, or that he was proven wrong later is bullshit.
For the American people and explain why. Because here's a guy who's declared himself as science. So you explain to us why, and we need to get to the origins of this. To this point right now, here today, Glenn, as we are talking, going back to 2020 when the virus started, there has not been a single congressional hearing in the House of Representatives on the origins of the COVID virus. There has.
So fucking what? We have mechanisms in place in the World Health Organization and in our own NIH and CDC that are working on that separately. A committee hearing of fucking Jim Jordan shouting down people who are actually trying to give a fuck about something is going to affect anything.
There hasn't been one in the Senate either.
Again, so fucking what? The origin didn't come from here. There's not an appropriation for this that makes any fucking sense. If somebody wants to bring an amendment or a bill to the floor that sanctions China for the release of COVID-19 based on the predicate that it was a man-made virus and it got put out and that's the way they're going to do it, and it will if it gets to the floor, it would get debate on the floor. But a committee on it won't do anything.
That is shocking to me.
That's because you're dumb.
Shocking to me.
Because you're a moron.
If you view this as a war, almost 1 million Americans have died.
It's not a war.
We've had this huge damage to our civil liberties and to our economy, and nobody in responsibility in Washington wants to know how this war started. Or
first of all, if it's a war, then the second one is coming, and anybody who isn't getting inoculated is arguably clogging up the medical system for the next COVID that comes through.
Who's responsible? It's ridiculous. So I hope they make that a priority. And Anthony Fauci needs to answer questions under oath, not rushed, not with a 5-minute rule, but very specific questions he needs to answer about why he tried to cover this up. Because you'll notice,
he didn't.
Glenn, the conversation is shifting. A lot of people are coming out of the woodwork now and saying there is mounting evidence that we've talked about all along.
Yeah, people can say whatever the fuck they want.
That this was man-made and created in a lab.
No. There aren't lots of people that are saying that. Lots of people like you and Glenn are saying it, but you're talking out of your ass. It's not lots of scientists are coming out and saying that, and nobody is shutting down any scientist that thinks it, that's actually done any of the fucking work. There's not a single, even in this case alone, there are people who believe this, and they did Chan J, F, Kokh, and Zhu Zi at the Genomic Characterization 2019 Novel Human Pathogenic Coronavirus isolated from a patient with atypical pneumonia after visiting Wuhan. So this is the information that they're getting on here is 8 and 9. Origin, pathogenesis, diagnosis, and therapeutic interventions, frontiers in bioscience. Here's another one. The origin of COVID-19 and why it matters, American Journal of Tropical Medicine. There's the PMC free article. Shall we look at this? Here you go. Origin of COVID-19. The pandemic is among the deadliest infectious diseases that have emerged in recent history. As with all past pandemics, the specific mechanism of its emergency in humans remains unknown. Nevertheless, a large body of virologic, epidemiologic, and veterinary and ecologic data establishes that the new virus, SARS-CoV-2, evolved directly or indirectly from a B coronavirus in the SARS-like virus subgroup that naturally infects bats and pangolins in Asia and Southeast Asia. Scientists have warned for decades that such sarbecoviruses are poised to emerge again and again, identified risk factors, and argued for enhanced pandemic prevention, blah, 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 blah. There's a whole article on it. How they emerge. They emerge as coronaviruses. Here's a breakdown of which ones and the parts that break off. Recent coronavirus emergencies. Coronavirus emergence risk. Here's when they normally come. Was COVID-19 predicted? It is also highly unlikely that SARS-CoV-2 was released from a laboratory by accident because no laboratory had the virus, nor did its genetic sequence exist in any sequence database before its initial GenBank deposition, early January 2020. Emergent mechanisms. They could have had an offline version there. Just saying. Wouldn't be surprising. But there you go. They're talking out of their ass.
More with Peter Schweizer here in just a second. If you haven't read Red-Handed, you need to.
No, I really don't. If it's as rambly and refuses to get to the point the way he does when he's talking on the fucking phone.
All of the people in Washington that are just taking money from our enemies.
Like who? What the fuck are you talking about?
It needs to be stopped.
China.
We'll talk to Peter Schweizer a little bit more. I've got two questions on Joe Biden that I think are disturbing coming up in just a second. So, Peter,
the questions or the answers?
I find it amazing that we haven't had time to look into, the laptop of Hunter Biden. FBI.
Yeah, it's because it doesn't exist.
Guy just has not had the time to do that.
They don't have it. They doesn't exist.
Haven't had the time to finish the Durham report.
The FBI is not in charge of the Durham report. The FBI has no say in the Durham report. Durham can finish his own fucking work.
And yet, boy, they arrested a couple of people who were accused of stealing Joe Biden's daughter's diary, which they said wasn't real for a very long time. And I'm all for putting people in jail who stole something. They shouldn't have stolen it.
But there should be a double standard at least.
However, that is disturbing if you know what was inside of that diary.
Allegedly.
Yeah, and look, I mean, nobody obviously knows exactly, if this is her diary.
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it? I mean, just pretend it is. You know what I mean? If it says something terrible, it's probably real. I have Glenn Beck's diary here. It's weird. He did it on a series of Post-its. The stuff he says about what Stu uses his old Sonic straws for is really disgusting. I can't tell if it helps him pee or he just likes the sensation. Anyways, Glenn Beck's Post-it diary right there, allegedly.
I mean, I haven't done any forensic work on it. Maybe other people have. But again, it goes back to this larger issue, Glenn.
Of bullshit, fake evidence?
And which is, he's president of the United States.
Yeah, that's true.
His family is engaged in these financial relationships with Chinese officials.
No, they aren't.
Who are linked to the CCP.
No, they're not.
And now there's a document floating around that may or may not be accurate.
It's not.
That apparently has some very salacious, damaging things to Joe Biden. Are foreign, are foreign intelligence agencies aware of this? Do they have copies of this? Has this been used as leverage?
Also, again, blackmail material is worthless if it's already out. If everybody knows about it or they can find it somehow, and the reaction has been just like, then who gives a shit? Blackmail is only blackmail if you've got the threat of release. Everything that's on the, like, that they keep throwing up about supposedly that's damaging from Hunter Biden, like the pictures and blah, 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 that were obviously stolen from his phone or deep fakes or whatever, doesn't fucking matter. They're out. If they came out and it didn't affect, he still won the presidency and he still doesn't give a shit. Who cares? Nobody cares. You can't blackmail someone for being an addict in the United States of America anymore. This is not 1951.
Against Joe Biden. I mean, these are the kinds of questions that used to be asked during the Cold War.
Yeah, because people were assholes about being gay or addicted. So what? It's one of the best reasons why gay people should be allowed to be out, especially when it comes to the military and like intelligence services, or even in the culture of the United States, is because there was a tremendous amount of blackmail going on in the Secret Service in the United States and in other countries, that if they found out you were gay, you would lose your entire, your family and your wealth and your job, and it was all going to get thrown out the window. And then once we get open about it in the United States, you can't blackmail anybody with it. Nobody gives a fuck. I have a picture of you with a man having sex. It's my husband. Like, nobody cares. It's still not evidence.
We have an entire counterintelligence apparatus that is supposed to look into this stuff.
You don't have to pass a counterintelligence test to become president. You don't. I mean, Biden did when he became vice president. Super easy. Trump would have never passed. Trump could have never been a vice president because he would not have gotten through the vetting process.
And explore it. And yet it's sort of head in the sand kind of mindset in Washington.
No. It's not head in the sand. Nobody gives a fuck. Nobody fucking cares. Like, even when we joke about Don Jr. being coked out of his fucking gourd, it's only a worthwhile reference because of his rich kid status and that he's a bloviating asshole. I'm not worried that he's going to sell nuclear secrets for fucking blow money. He's not going to get access to that. Nobody cares.
In D.C. It doesn't matter what the vulnerabilities or the possible points of leverage that form.
There are none. If the shit's already out, you can't have leverage. If you do not do what I tell you, this naked picture of your wife will be on the cover of other magazines. It's like blackmailing a Kardashian at a certain point. We have sex tape. Me too, but you're going to have to pay for it. Like, who cares?
Intelligence services.
One of the reasons why you drop a lot of the kind of gray area moralizing shit, especially when it comes to national service and people's general existence, is for national security. The fewer things you can get blackmailed on, the less we all have to fucking worry about, especially if it's a no harm, no foul thing. You should only be able to be blackmailed on shit where you're like, if you're in a Miss Lindsay situation.
Have on this president, we're just going to pretend they don't exist.
No, we're not pretending that pictures of Hunter Biden smoking in the fucking bathtub don't exist. We don't care.
And that's the part that is truly shocking to me. And you're quite right. The priorities of the FBI when it comes to these issues, I know for a fact, because it's been reported back in 2020, that Tony Bobolinsky shared his materials with the FBI.
Uh-huh.
There's no evidence, and I have it on pretty good authority, that nothing has been done with that material.
Yeah, because the only issue that comes up is tax related, and there's an open tax case anyways. And I got news for you. The hard drive that floated around that's supposed to be evidence would never be evidence in anything. If they even went near it, any first-year law student could get the whole fucking case thrown out. Like, Your Honor, every piece of evidence they have against my client, including his taxes, they got off this hard drive, and the chain of evidence on that thing is fucked. We don't know where it came from. We don't know which files are real. We have no responsibility to make the state's case for them. We want the entirety of that and everything related to it, any document that's on that you found elsewhere without proper cause through other means, to be thrown out. And they would. The whole fucking case would get thrown out. All of it. I'm not kidding. Like, I mean, there's no hard drive and there's no real laptop in the, period. Let's start there. But even if there was, the worst thing you could do with evidence that you want to use against somebody is fucking copy it and copy it and copy. Like, Your Honor, I found the smoking gun. It's not actually smoking. This is not the actual gun either. I 3D printed a copy of it, but it's pretty close. And if it were just used, it would be smoking. But the original one was smoking. Trust me on that. Now, if you test a bullet out of this one, obviously the rifling will be different because it's a copy. It's not even a copy of the original. It's a copy of a copy. We made dozens. I've got a bag of these guns here. Your Honor, any one of these guns can serve as the murder weapon for argument's sake. Shut the fuck up.
And now you have this FBI official who reportedly the whistleblowers identified as slow walking or suppressing the investigation of Hunter Biden?
No whistleblower has identified any such thing. That's ghost bullshit. Come forward. We had Vindman. He spoke out. The minute people questioned his existence, he came forward and became a target. The rest of these guys, I don't believe they exist. Ron Johnson and Grassley are talking out of their ass. They're taking fucking, phone calls and hello, this is Chuck Grassley. I was in the middle of sucking peas off of a butter knife. What can I do for you? I'm an FBI whistleblower. I have information about Hunter Biden. Well, hang on a second. I have to spit out my mashed potatoes. I like having them both at the same time. Oh, that was a toenail. Where was I? Well, I'm an FBI agent, but I don't want to say who I am, where I am, or what I'm doing. But you're going to have to trust me on this. The Hunter Biden laptop is real. I'm touching it right now. The pictures on it are just disgusting. There's videos on here that are filth. I've watched every single one of them half a dozen times. And I was so disgusted I had to do something. So I pulled up my pants and I needed to tell you, if you want to see what I've seen, talk to, what was his name again? Rudy, how do you spell it? His name is Rudy Giuliani. He's sitting right here. No, he's not sitting right here. I cannot see him right now. No, not at all. Wait a minute. How do I know this is... Hello? How do I know you're real? Hello? Hello? Mary, get in here. I got a call from an FBI whistleblower. I couldn't tell if he said there are 14 others like him or he's 14. Doesn't matter. Write this down as best as I can recollect.
The reporting's been, Glenn, is that he resigned and he's retiring and he's getting his pension. I mean, that's...
Wait, we're jumping to fucking Fauci now?
That's
it is sick what's going on.
It's sick. Sick. An 80-year-old retiring. Who's ever heard of such a thing? It's disgusting.
It is really sick.
It's sick. It's sick that someone who works for the CDC and the NIH who stops people from, checks notes, if I may, and I may not, if I could just another point that I'm not making.
I mentioned a name that nobody's heard for a while. Durham.
Yeah, what a loser. It's almost like everybody Trump hires is a complete fuck up. Oh my God. What is it? Every time Durham gets something, it gets thrown out later. Psh, fucking nothing. Where is this Durham thing?
Where the hell is the Durham report?
Yeah, what is it? I mean, it's not possible that he's looked at all this stuff and he's got nothing. That's not possible. Hold on one second. Let's see. So we got just looking for something very specific and do. Oh, it's got to be in here. Hold on. Nah. I was trying to find a mustache that's good enough for Durham, but it's hard to find. I can't find it. I don't have a Durham mustache. I don't have one. God damn it. So.
Report.
Yeah, the Durham report and also the Hunter Biden grand jury.
Yeah, it's as if there isn't a thing, and if we got the Hunter Biden grand jury in a tax case, it would wreck the whole fucking case, and therefore he could get it thrown out because they talked about what was going on in the grand jury before he actually had a trial, and he could argue he's not getting a fair trial, and we'd have to throw the fucking thing out.
And, you know, what could be going on. What could be going on
is you have your head up your ass.
Again, they violated it, you know, in blazing glory with...
Excuse you?
The Trump raid. But the DOJ has had this policy that 90 days or so before an election, you're not going to come out with something that's damaged. That may be what's going on with the grand jury, because I do have...
Never question Durham. God damn it. I'm operating on my own goddamn time frame. I'm Durham, for God's sakes. It's called the Durham report. It's not called the Schweizer-Beck report. Fucking catch up. God damn it. I mean, at times I have to tell you fuckers. This is disgusting. Look, I'll finish my report when I'm fucking done with my report. Okay? I've got a couple of T's to cross and a couple of I's to dot, and I'll be done somewhere around 2027. Just hang in there, will you? Hold your goddamn horses. I'm Durham, you son of a bitch. I'm Durham.
People that are aware of what's going on.
I'm aware of what's going on. I know better than any of you fuckers.
That seems to be, there's been a lot of activity. They're kind of quieting things down. But again,
I'm doing no such fucking thing. All I do is yell. I walk around the goddamn office going, I'm Durham, goddammit. Somebody finish chapter 5 of my 25-page report. Shit.
What people are looking for, Glenn, is consistency.
That's right. Like, every day, my mustache looks the same.
If you're going to have a 90-day rule...
measure it yourself.
It should apply to a grand jury. It should apply to the Durham investigation. It should also...
Wait a minute. So I got to... Hold on. Shut the fuck up, Schweizer. So I got to stop my goddamn investigation for the next 90 goddamn days and do nothing. Do you want the report or not? Because I didn't want to say this. I did not want to say this, but goddamn it, I'm going to say it right now. It was coming out in 2 weeks. Just like my hero, Donald John Trump. In 2 weeks' time, it's coming out. And then what happens? I'm 2 weeks away from releasing the goddamn thing. And then you tell me not for 90 days because it's too close to an election. Shut the fuck up.
To apply to major FBI operations where they show up with guns and the media's present in these dramatic raids.
Well, hey, they're dramatic for a reason. Have you ever watched FBI Files? Have you ever watched Criminal Minds? The FBI, the only difference between them and local law enforcement is the FBI has their own theme song. They show up and it's all suspense music playing in the background. Sometimes I can't even ask these fuckers questions because of the goddamn strings.
And it's the inconsistency.
It's not funny. Shut up.
The fact that the different rules apply to different people in the same circumstances, which is, I think, what has angered people.
You think you're angry? I'm Durham, you dumb motherfucker.
The most, and has made people.
I do not have diabetes. Shut up, chat room.
Distraught.
MAGA PI. I will punch the chat right in the penis.
About the course that our country has now been on for a while.
Yeah, we're in a terrible course. And I'm this close. I'm edging on my report. You can wait a little longer, you Mr. Russian hands and Roman fingers. Don't give me no lies and keep your hands to yourself. I'm Durham, motherfucker.
With the amount of money that our government is spending now, Peter.
Are you kidding me? I am paying for the entire Durham report out of my own pocket. It's cost me $75 and every Bed Bath & Beyond coupon I can find.
I know this is really what...
Stop saying diabetes in the chat room.
You've been... this is what started you on...
Jew? Why'd you say Jew? That's weird. Glenn, you're... Started Jew because his name is Schweizer? Is that where you get this? What was that again?
You've been...
how the fuck... What happened to my face? I changed mustaches midstream. That's not right. Get back in here, you bastard. Nope. I look all French now. Thank God. That's weird. Where did it go? Nope. Very Freddie Mercury. I had it a second ago. Then it went someplace. The fuck did my mustache go? This is terrible. Oh, here it is. I'm back. God damn it. Shut the fuck up.
It started you.
I was undercover. Durham goes undercover, okay? You don't think they're giving me this stuff, this information for the Durham report? You motherfuckers don't think I'm getting this stuff for free, do you? Stop saying diabetes in the chat. Quit it. If anybody says Quaker Oats, I'm out of here.
On so many of these journeys was the waste and the corruption.
Oh, fuck you, man. I've had to write 2 personal checks and both of them bounced.
Of our public funds. I really think when somebody looks into all the connections and where our money has gone in Ukraine, my gut tells me
that Sonic is a mistake and that constant eating of meat and carbs on that level is doing irreparable damage to your fucking colon. Sorry, that's what your gut is telling me.
It is a massive scandal waiting to be uncovered.
Yeah, because nobody, this is not officially, I'm off the clock. This is not officially part of the Durham report. Don't think for a fucking second that I'm Durham, goddammit, but I can have opinion on a thing or two. It sounds to me like you're rooting for Russia there, pal.
Yeah.
But with the amount of money that we're spending, the amount of money that could be being funneled into dark kinds of things is
war is hell.
Astounding.
It is. They're numbers with lots of zeros.
These guys are too fucking smart for me. I'm sorry. I fucking walked into a rake. I shouldn't even be in this room with the level of intellect that you're seeing here. Yeah, numbers with lots of zeros. That's way above my pay grade. I'm Durham. I'm a grunt. I work on the ground level of justice, not up there in the high clouds of the echelon of like war crimes and money laundering and that kind of stuff. That's That's not something I give a fuck. I want small time corruption in big time hallways. I'm Durham. Get used to the idea.
At the end, lots more zeros than you and I are ever going to see. Or that
I don't know. You're surrounded by zeros, Glenn. Every time you pass a fucking mirror, you see one. You fucking dunce.
a large number of people in Texas together are ever going to see. Yeah, it's a huge problem.
In Texas together? What kind of orgy are we talking? I'm Durham. If I don't get invited to a fucking Texas orgy, it's not an orgy. Just a bunch of assholes naked. Not just the assholes. That's some people focus on that. It's up to you. It's none of my business. Just let me know. Let me know if the mustache tickles.
Well, and look, when it comes to Ukraine, in my mind,
what the fuck? How do we bounce around from Hunter Biden's laptop to fucking China and Fauci and Ukraine and me and fucking stay on topic, you pricks?
It's really possible to believe two things at the same time.
Oh my fucking God. These guys, no one, even if I released the Durham report, they wouldn't understand it. It's possible to believe two things at the same time. Do you even Durham or not, bro?
Number one, Vladimir Putin is an aggressor that has moved into neighboring Ukraine, and he's created this humanitarian crisis.
All right. Okay. I'm with you on that one. What's number two? I'm guessing it's going to sound like number two.
And number two, the Ukrainian government is corrupt. And we are going to pour billions of dollars in there that is going to end up in overseas accounts. We know Zelensky's already done this. This has been done by the International Consortium of Investigative Journalists. They got access to overseas bank accounts that.
Well, excuse me. I got news for you. And look, I don't know everything about everything, but I am fucking Durham. I know a thing or two about a thing or two. And I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but Ukraine is fucking overseas. Durham out. Sorry, I just fucking think.
Government officials have that have been arranged through shell companies. Zelensky had some of those. We know that the people...
Because the Russians are trying to gut their fucking economics. They have to hide the money from Russian hackers. Are you stupid?
That backed Zelensky coming to power, particularly an oligarch named Kolomoisky, is deeply corrupt. And
very upset that his job has not been done very well.
And has been implicated in siphoning off billions of dollars of U.S. aid. So what you're saying is already happening, and it's a tragedy.
Yeah, and if we can save a couple of $1 million, who gives a shit if Chechen and Wagner Group rape squads punch their way through small towns all over Ukraine? You know what I mean? Not our fucking problem.
Peter Schweizer, thank you so much. We'll talk to you again. Peter Schweizer.
Jesus Christ. I apologize for that one. I think we're all dumber for having watched that shit. What a waste of fucking time. Good Lord.